The War is Over, the Stonehouse Series, Chapter 37. It was late afternoon when Mary turned up to go up the steps with a cruse of lamp oil to put it away. She stopped mid-stride at the first step and gazed into her jar of oil. Yes, that's it! She snapped around, looking out the window to search the position of the sun. Determining that she had just enough time, she ran upstairs, put the jar away, and ran back downstairs and out the door. Mary made a beeline for home, or more precisely, the greenhouse and her hidden stash of processed spikenard oil. Cruising right along, she made it there in less than 20 minutes. From the greenhouse door, she saw Emil's sheep and goats in a nearby field. To one side was Emil's nephew, Moshe, watching Emil's flock from a small knoll. Mary waved at the young man as she entered through the door. Quickly, she walked into the storage room into the northeastern corner and closed the door behind her. Next, she got down on her knees, brushed some dirt away, and lifted a cover board from a box buried beneath the counter. From there, she removed a full bottle of spikenard oil. Its value was more than a year's wages for the average worker. Scrutinizing the bottle for a moment, she blew away the dust and polished it with her sleeve. She started to replace the cover board when she felt a presence surround her. Prickly hairs stood up on the back of her neck. There was no fear, but there seemed to be a voice or a thought. She listened closely. Is someone talking to me? Hello, is someone there? Nothing, no response. Not heard with her ears. Who are you? Where are you? She glanced around, twisting back, looking over her shoulders. I don't hear him with my ears. But I do hear him, I think. Somehow. A voice was there, maybe, someone speaking or passing off a thought, like from another room or through a closed bedroom door. What? Again, Mary swiveled to her right and to her left, searching all around. No one was there. How are you doing that? She hesitated and drew the cover board back. A moment passed, and she moved to return the cover board into its correct place. But there was that presence once more, trying to get her attention. Caught in a current, Mary floated back and forth, stuck in the middle of an Esther pantomime. Really? So still on her knees at her hidden stash box under the counter, she leaned forward and looked into the compartment. There were other bottles there, but her attention was drawn to her money bag, a long-sleeve-like leather bag with gold and silver coins at the bottom. She reached down and picked it up. It weighed as much as a mug of tea. The skinny leather bag was as long as her forearm and tied with a heavy leather cord with a loop, just large enough to get her hand through. She slipped her right hand through the loop and closed it around the top of the bag, letting the contents swing back and forth. This is kind of heavy. Why carry it back to Stonehouse? Do I need money there? At Simon's? She again went to replace the cover board. This time, there was no presence to stop her. She finished by brushing the dirt back over her stash beneath the counter so it looked the same as the rest of the floor. And in a hurry to return, Mary left the building, but noticed cool evening air was settling in. So she set the spikenard bottle down on a work table and went to her house to grab a coat. From the top step at the house, she reached with her left hand to open the door. From that spot, Mary noticed the same presence she sensed in the storage room in her greenhouse. and she clicked the door latch with her thumb, and she opened the door, swinging it to her left hand still on the latch. Evening light flowed into the room, and the setting sun was shining on her back. Pushing the door open, Mary felt a calloused hand grab her left wrist at that same moment that she saw it emerge from the shadows. Turning her head as she screamed, Mary glared down at the hairy hand holding on to her. "No, you don't!" A gruff, laughing voice came from behind her on her other side, and looking back over her right shoulder, she saw a man peeling himself off the wall. "Ha ha ha! Gotcha!" The two men had been hiding in ambush, one on each side of the door. "Not like this, you don't!" Whoosh! Struggling against the tightening grip around her wrist, she used that restriction to push her against, and as she swung her right hand back with the heavy leather pouch at the right temple of her approaching second attacker. The leather bag met the man's head with a high-speed direct blow impact, and his eyes went blank as he totally stopped moving, hovered a second, and then crashed face first to the floor. Thunk. The first man was pulling hard on Mary's left hand, but also realized that there was resistance. He grabbed onto the arm with both hands. "You wiry little runt!" Years of digging in the dirt and working in the greenhouse had built a bit of strength into the woman's arms. "Hairy ape! Eat dirt!" Seeing the victorious results which the leather bag had on the first man, Mary swung with all of her might at the left temple of the man whose hairy hands were locked around her arm. With a sickening thud, a pound of gold and silver coins struck the side of the doomed man's head. From there, his forehead bounced against the wooden door, and his hulking frame slid to the floor. Whoosh! Bam! There was silence for the space of one breath, and then came the sound of running footsteps on the outside path leading to the steps. Mary turned and began another backhand blow for the incoming intruder. But as the sandaled feet stepped over the door's threshold, and half an instant before the man's brain would have turned to pudding, Mary's eyes met her assailant's eyes. "Moshe!" Mary did her best to redirect the swinging club. As Moshe ducked and dodged, it slammed into the open timber door. Crush! "Wow, Mary, that was close," exclaimed Moshe as he began to take it in the room. "I heard you scream. Are you okay?" "Yes, I think so," she responded, feeling at the red marks on her arm where the hairy man had grabbed her. Moshe was scrutinizing the motionless men on the floor. "They don't look too good. Who are they?" Blood was oozing from head wounds on both men. "Well, it's a long story, but I really don't know who they are." "They're both out cold," said Moshe. "My Uncle Emil will be very proud of you. How did you do it?" "I don't know," said Mary, looking for a chair to sit down in and adding, "I feel a little queasy." Moshe was looking closer at the two men. It was getting harder to see. The sun was down and it was almost dark. "They are both bleeding. Their hearts must still be beating." Mary stood up, got a lamp, and lit it, asking, "What are we going to do with them?" "We'll tie their hands and feet, and I'll wait right here while you go get my Uncle Emil." Mary handed Moshe some leather laces, and they tied both men's hands and feet. Moshe found an ironwood pickaxe handle and said, "If they move, I will hit them hard in the head with this. You get Uncle Emil back here as fast as you can." Mary held her hand up and looked at it in the lamplight. It was white and shaking. And then she jumped up, ran out the door and down the steps. She fell to her knees by the side of the house and threw up what little she had in her stomach. Moshe heard her and grimaced, gave her a moment, and then said, "I will watch them. You go find my uncle. I don't think they will move for quite a while." "Thank you, Moshe," replied Mary as she retrieved her bottle of spikenard. She went back up the steps, retrieved her desired coat, and then said to Moshe, "Be safe, my friend. Emil will be here soon." Mary had only walked a short distance, just a quarter of a mile, when she heard the blade of a sword slide against the metal cap of its sheath. "Who's there?" she shouted, preparing to run. "Mary," Ben answered. "Is that you?" He broke from the other three and ran to her. She met Ben running halfway and threw her arms around him, sobbing into his shoulder. "You're shaking. Are you okay? What happened? We went looking for you. Where have you been?" I went to get something from the greenhouse, but then—" Mary paused. They were all standing in a cluster around Mary now, and she seemed to be lost in thought or traumatized from her ordeal. "He did warn me," said Mary with understanding. "He prepared me, and he helped me." "Who warned you?" asked Ben. "Who was there and helped you? I thought you were alone." "I went there alone, but I wasn't alone." "Mary," demanded Ben, "who was there and what did he do to help?" "It was Spirit Helper, the one Jesus told us about. There were 2 men waiting just inside the door in the house, waiting for me there." "2 men?" questioned Emil. "How did you escape? Did they hurt you?" "I hit them in the head with this," said the adrenaline-stoked Mary as she held up her right arm with her money bag still hanging from her wrist. Yes, you hit them with that bag," coaxed Emil. And then what?" They are both unconscious, knocked out, lying on the floor. Moshe helped me tie them up." "Oh, so Moshe was there to help you, to take the 2 men down? Good. I have worked with him and spent much time training him." No, Moshe heard me scream. He got there after the 2 men were already knocked out and lying on the floor. He helped me tie them up, and he is waiting for you now. We didn't know what to do with them. They're bleeding all over Martha's floor." Emil considered Mary's words as he stood there looking at this little girl. She was 24 years old, probably 5'4" and 130 pounds with all her winter clothes on. This is something new, like a girl Samson. "Ben, you take 1 servant with you and get Mary back to Stonehouse. I will take the other with me and deal with the 2 men Mary sent to Nana Land. Go figure. You did good, Mary. I'm impressed." Emil left quickly, interested to see what he could read of what took place from the scene itself, and also from Moshe's input. The others moved a little slower, one on each side of Mary. As they walked, Mary leaned into Ben's shoulder and kept a tight hold on his hand. From the center of the soul were growing live and active gardens. Before the harvest was actually needed, it was already fully grown.